Hey everybody, this is Perch. So now that the news on Future State has finally come out, we see it, we can react to it, we have some sense of what is going on exactly. What do we learn from it? Well, quite a bit actually. So I wanted to go through the key points just to keep everybody honest. It's interesting. Already there's various news articles from some news sites that got things horribly wrong. They're now trying to kind of save face, is what it feels like, to be honest. And there's others that are doing then video reactions about how this is the woke apocalypse and other things. It's not that either. So what is this exactly? What are some things that you can use when you're chatting on message boards, going to your comic shops? How should you look at this? Well, here's the key things you need to know. First of all, this is a temporary fill-in event before things launch in March. It's going to run January and February, 2 months, and then it's done. It's a pretty straightforward piece of comics that will hit relatively quickly, and then we will get to our new creative teams and other things in March. This is largely what 5G was always intended to be, but shorter. So everything I always heard, and it's one area of if you've been following this channel for any length of time, you've heard this a million times before. It's like shouting into the wind sometimes, reporting on Future State, because people want to come and argue with you. Now the facts are out there. It's hard to argue with it. Now the story people do is say, well, they changed their minds. Not really. This is what 5G was intended to be, but it is shorter. What I'd always heard was 3 to 4 months out of 5G. Was how long it was going to be. Maybe longer if fan reaction was really strong, but it was always intended to be shorter. We're going for 2 months now, January and February. But this is basically what you have. And this story around this kind of future glimpse of what the DC universe was going to become was the intention of 5G. It was not, as others, in particular Bleeding Cool reported, meant to wipe out old continuity and kind of replace everybody's aging up, and this is going to be the new DC going forward. It's not a full-on reboot, and it never was. And this is the big sticking point that I think a lot of people got crammed into their head because of some sloppy reporting. And in many cases, I think it was a combo of just somebody not really doing their job, maybe kind of over-exaggerating what some people within DC, who frankly have been laid off now, were hoping, and also an attempt to kind of poke the fan base in order to get attention. And that's the key here. A lot of the reporting and everything around 5G was done by somebody who wanted to get attention, and they did, and it spiraled from there. It's going to be around 50 issues, maybe less, over 2 months. I do expect to see a bunch of anthology and kind of higher priced comics. I think this will be DC dipping their toe in the water to see if they can make more $7.99 style comics fly. I may be wrong about that, but at least from the solicitations, it looks like it's going in that direction. A lot of little 2-part miniseries. If you're a DC fan, you've seen this before, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Just like Convergence, very similar footprint in terms of what you're going to be buying at the store if you're going in on this. And to that point, we've seen this event before. This is Convergence. We've seen Futures End. We've seen the Age of Apocalypse. We've seen the Age of X-Men. We've seen a lot of these kinds of things. And it all got twisted around in comic fans' heads, again, by some bad reporting and a lot of hot take video that got made around what Future State was going to be, and that it and 5G, and that it's the woke apocalypse and all the rest. And a lot of people got really hung up on that, and they missed the obvious. This was meant to be a short-term little storyline that got rolled out. And I'll fight anyone who tells me otherwise. I've heard from people very high up in this company that this was always what it was, and a lot of the initial reporting was wrong. So in terms of the specifics, Connor and John are now both Superman. How that works, we don't know exactly, but they're both kind of hanging out. Clark is banished from Earth and fighting on Warworld. Now, one of the notes is that Lois and her husband, Clark, are doing something with Lex Luthor. So whether that's set a little bit before the rest of the comics, it's uncertain. But Clark has basically been exiled from Earth, and he's off fighting in gladiator pits in Warworld with Mongol. And that's what he's got going on. So, but Connor and John are the Supermen in this world. Yana Flor is the new Wonder Woman, but Diana is still around as well. And we do expect kind of this, some back and forth around this, that Yana Flor is a new character representing kind of the Wonder Woman of this timeline. Luke Fox appears to be the new Batman. Bruce Wayne is said to be dead, but also appears to still be running around, or there's some other grizzled person in the Batman costume, which could be as well. but it does look like Luke Fox is going to be carrying this event as Batman. Again, for people who are really getting hung up on this, we've seen people replace quote unquote Batman multiple times before. This isn't the first time, not even the second or the third time that we've seen people replace Batman before. So to all the people who are really going into this is a bunch of character engineering, how dare they change the classic character? Well, I mean, Nightwing's been Batman, Damian's been Batman, Azrael's been Batman. There's been other Batman. There's been lots of Batman. And so this is 2 months where Luke Fox is taking the mantle by all signs. We're getting Red X. So this is one of those little kind of things from the Titans cartoon brought into continuity. We're getting Red X in the Batman universe. And it looks like, a lot of the fan favorites. Phantasm is showing up in the Bat-Cat book by Tom King. So we're getting a lot of these kind of crossovers into the comic. No identity of who Red X is going to be, but at least a decent amount of indication suggests this is Damian in the future. There is a new Flash, and good news, Wally West is evil again in what feels like the ghost of Dan Didio kind of clawing into the future. Wally West appears to, evil again is wrong, just appears to be a threat in this new comic and where things are going on. So, hey, great news, the Wally West train continues. Jackson Hyde is a new Aquaman. You could see this coming if you were reading the current Aquaman book. And Arthur Curry and Mara's daughter is Aqua Woman, and she'll be running around as well. No indications of where Arthur and Mara are in this, at least from what we can tell. But this is kind of the new Aquaman. Sojourner Mule is is the Green Lantern that will be serving in the Justice League, and it looks to be the Green Lantern on Earth. Although that looks like there's a bunch of Green Lanterns running around still, just like today. John Stewart, Guy Gardner, and there seems to be a story where they're trapped in some location with the rings failing, which I think I've read that story before as well. So again, that this is what appears to be going on with Green Lantern. And here is where I think a lot of people come in and say, oh, look, they've replaced a lot of the white characters, the POC characters. We've got, a Aquaman here, and we've got a Batman, and we've got now Green Lantern, except a lot of these characters already existed. They were already in comics. It wasn't like they just showed up. Some people claim that this is a Riri Williams-like situation. The difference here is that these characters were already in DC at the time, and we're talking about a 2-month look into the future. So I'm really not getting that personally, but I know people are going to complain. More Wildstorm characters are around. We've got Midnighter, we've got Grifter, and we have at least some indication that there will be more. So I think that's going to be a constant theme of 2021 as well, is lots of Wildstorm characters in DC Universe proper. So we can look forward to that. And then, this is my own, your mileage may vary. That's just where it sits. I don't view this as all woke comics. I think people who are saying this is the woke coming of DC, I'm not getting it. Because again, a lot of these characters, the vast majority of these characters already exist in DC. They're being shuffled around, as happens whenever you do a future story, which happens all the time. There's not a heavy indication that this is coming. This appears to be stemming from a lot of comments that Rich Johnston over at Bleeding Cool made initially that got people all riled up. A lot of video hot takes that insisted that this is the evil new direction of DC, and then just I think general paranoia about where things are going. It is what it is. I don't believe that this is a kind of woke apocalypse as people consider, unless you believe that the current comics are too woke, which you might. And again, your mileage may vary. If you believe that social politics and that kind of engineering are flooding DC Comics and there's too much of it today, then you're probably going to still feel that way with Future State. The world's not getting quote unquote better for you. It's staying the same. And I think that's key. If you're worried that all of your characters are going to get replaced with new kind of, I don't know what the word would be, just woke versions of characters, I don't think you're getting anything terribly different from what you have right now. So it comes back to you. Are you upset with current comics? Are you frustrated by what feels like a lot of infusion of social politics? Well, then nothing is changing. So you're going to continue to be upset, and it's still not going to work for you. And that's fine. That's your take. This is not me going, or laughing at you. It is what it is. Nothing is really changing by the look of things from 5G. And then I guess I'll conclude with this. The majority, like I've been saying, the majority of the original reporting on 5G and all of this was completely wrong or exaggerated or heightened. And it was done for a reason, to get clicks, to get people all outraged and concerned and freaked out, and it did. The commentary was on on that news. The very video takes and everything else was also wrong. And of course it was. It was all based on a bad beginning. This storyline was always misrepresented, and then the commentary on it was misrepresented. And I guess I go back to kind of what I just said. If you don't like the direction of DC Comics that you've been seeing for the last 2 years, then you're going to continue to not like the direction, which is fine. You don't have to like this. You don't have to like it. You don't have to hate it. You can be however you want. But the trajectory of DC Comics is not substantially changing. Now, not covered in this, but certainly involved in this, is there certainly are a number of creators that are currently involved or embroiled in various feuds or blockchains or other things on social media. And once again, I guess I would say the movement of a lot of these creators were coming to DC before this event. John Ridley is not one of those people, I think, who gets into a lot of these fights, but certainly, people like Vita Ayala, Matt Rosenberg, others have been various names that people have had feuds with on social media. And if those people irritate you, they are going to be writing DC Comics, and that is a problem. No sign of Mark Waid in all this. I think if there's going to be some Mark Waid in DC, you're going to see that in March when we're back to kind of the regular continuity or the regular timeline. But again, it is what it is. I think people get this is where I'm going to piss people off because they want me to be either really angry about it or not caring about it at all. And I think has nothing to do with me. It has to do with you. If you don't like these creators, if you don't like this direction, then you should not buy it. It's definitely going in the wrong direction for you, but it is a direction that's been happening for quite some time. If you're interested to try out some of these characters, they look intriguing for you, you should give it a shot. There, I think you maybe get into a different discussion with yourself around maybe they're too expensive, or maybe there's too many, or maybe you're frustrated because you get attached to a character and then 2 months later it's gone. I think those are all great questions to ask yourself. But in general, this is what it is. And then because I'm a dick, and I'll just put it in here, I just want to, again, slide under here that, I've been reporting on this now for 6 months. And if you go back and watch the very, 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 very first video I did on 5G, you'll see that that's pretty much what we've got. So I think I was referencing it as 3 to 4 months instead of 2, but otherwise pretty much down the line, including calling some of the creators and some of the other pieces that were involved. But I'm just saying it's there. Anyway, this is DC Future State. Love it, hate it. I mean, here my personal commentary is this. I'm not a big fan of this event, but again, not for the reasons other people are pissed. I'm not a big fan of it because I've seen these stories before, like a lot. And what I would prefer is to really see care and attention put into their normal line, going in normal times, and just kind of roll with that. I'm not really excited by another possible glimpse into the future that may or may not hold. It's to me it's tiring. I'd like to just see some classic runs on, and when I say classic, I mean like a good dig into it type of run. This comment will make people crazy again, but Tamaki, who's doing Wonder Woman, looks to be setting out on a good invested run with Wonder Woman. And in my mind, I'd like to just get that concluded. I mean, just like let that go for a couple of years, and hopefully some, we get a good run that we can look back on that's good. James Tynion's Batman. I mean, just I'd like to see like 2 years go by without a bunch of interruptions and some good classic stories, and just that's what I'm looking for. Again, your mileage may vary, and at the end of the day, whether you like this, hate it, it's completely up to you. And there you go. But there's some facts you can kind of put in your mind, you can have and run around with, and hopefully set the record straight a little again. But or there's a lot of hot takes. They're being uploaded as we speak. You can rush over and grab those too. Your choice. Hey, what do you think of all this? Again, does this excite you? Did not excite you? Are you in, out, whatever it happens to be? Leave a comment below. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. But most importantly, thanks for listening.